Writers, you finished your book, now it's time to market it. But market it to who and how? In this episode of A Writer's Journey, we're going to talk about some things that I have used over the past few years, what has worked, what hasn't, and let's get into it right now. Hi, if you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Charles F. Millhouse. I am the author of the Captain Hawkland Adventure Series, the Evolution Man book series, and the Serena Darkwood Adventure Series. And we're here today to talk a little bit about marketing your books. And not just books, your short stories, anything that you have written that you want to market to the public. I'd like to say that there is an easy way to do it, but there isn't. There's an analogy that I like to use a lot, and that is, think of yourself as a member of a garage band, and you're trying to get yourself out there to be the next big thing. Well, I don't know what big bands are anymore. You know, I'm more of a Led Zeppelin kind of guy. But that being said, you are a lot like a garage band. You're trying to market yourself out there in a world that is filled with other people who are trying to do the same exact thing that you are doing. And it can be difficult. And you throw money at promotions, and you are on social media all of the time, and a combination of things helps. But the best thing that works for you is to know your readers. What you have written. Is it science fiction? Is it romance? Is it fantasy romance? What is it? You know, I write basically men's adventure fiction, which is also known as new pulp. And I have a demographic that reads this genre. So I got to put some numbers together, and I want to go over those numbers with you right now and try to explain a little bit of which way I'm leading with this, okay? Women are 10 to 15% more likely to read than men. On average, 77% of women read at least one book a year, where for men, it's more of an average of 67%. So there's a pretty big gap there. Women dominate in genres like fiction, especially romance, mystery, and literary fiction. Memoirs and biographies are also very, very popular. Where men tend to move more towards nonfiction, history, politics, science, but they do like to read thrillers and tech-heavy science fiction. Male readers peak usually between 35 and 54. This group reads for entertainment, education, and professional development. But there are ages 55 plus that have a strong demographic where they read nonfiction, histories, biography, politics. A slight drop in fiction reading compared to the 35 to 54-year-olds. Women 30 to 49 years old, usually they're the major book buyers, especially in fiction and lifestyle genres. Where ages 50 to 64, normally they gravitate more towards mysteries, thrillers, historical fiction, memoirs, and they're also members of book clubs, and they read a lot of the book club picks. Formats that still dominate, the number one is still paperbacks. They're the most popular with readers, men and women. And the next is audiobooks, which is really gaining in popularity. And ebooks are still pretty strong between the ages of 25 and 45 years old. With that being said, I'm going to focus primarily on what I write, and I urge you to do research on whatever genre you are writing. Subgenres in today's market are very popular. Like I said, I write men's adventure fiction / new pulp, and that is a subgenre from thrillers and adventure books like Clive Cussler or Jim Butcher and that kind of author. You want to, if you can, narrow down your genre, maybe even create a new genre. But you have to find out if there's readers for that genre. And when I first started writing new pulp, I didn't know there was a movement for new pulp, and I didn't know that the phrase new pulp was a term. I was just going to write a Captain Hawkland book because I wanted to write a pulp adventure type book. And after I wrote it, it sold. And then I realized there was more of a market for it. And I started writing more Captain Hawkland books, to the point now where I've written a whole universe surrounded around the Captain Hawkland character. So that's what you need to do. You need to find out who your reader is and market towards them. Now, how do you market? Well, you can market through different avenues. You can market through Amazon. You can market through Facebook. There's websites like BookBub. And I have found for my genre, none of these work. None of them work. I have thrown money at all of those. And you know how many book sales I have gotten from those ads that I've ran on those platforms? Zero. Absolutely none. Most of my book sales come from word of mouth. My genre is so small that I have gotten myself in a little niche, and I think that people know of what I write, and either for good or bad. Facebook does help, just being on a presence on social media. Since I tend to my readers gravitate more towards me who are in the ages of 40 and up. There are some younger men who read my work, but most of the people who read my stuff are older gentlemen, and I tend to focus on that. I don't really pay much attention to focusing on women, just men. Not to say that women haven't bought my books and have come back to read my books, which I'm very grateful, but a lot of the women that come back to buy my books are buying my science fiction stuff, like the Serena Darkwood series. I started out as a science fiction writer, and now I'm primarily a pulp writer, but I still write science fiction, and I'll continue to write science fiction because I enjoy that genre. But I am focusing a lot of my attention on new pulp, and that's what you should do. Focus on the genre that you have chosen to write in. Find other authors who write what you write, and friend them on Facebook and try to start a conversation with them. You'll find that a lot of, especially independent writers, are very willing to give you advice on the genre that you're choosing to write in. And of course, you're going to run into some that are not, but primarily you're going to find people who are wanting to see you succeed because they are just that kind of people. And I'm one of them. I like to see other writers succeed. And, you know, it's just human nature to think, well, he sold this and he sold that and he's doing so good, or his post has more likes than my post. And that's just human nature. But when it comes right down to it, I want to see fellow writers succeed. And that's why I like to nurture other writers and tell them what I've learned over the past 25 years. Now, social media is great. Instagram and Facebook work primarily better for me because the older readers that read my stuff are on those platforms. But I also throw stuff on YouTube and I throw stuff on TikTok. I don't get a lot of kickback from TikTok. It's primarily romance. So if you write romance or fantasy romance or just straightforward fantasy, TikTok is probably the better platform for you. And you need to post at least once a day on there and throw out them hashtags and get people to see your work. I wish I could tell you that you could throw money at for paid advertising, or even, I guess, this new thing now with AI advertising. I know nothing about it. I don't want to use AI. I don't want to be involved with it in any way. I would rather I've been doing it for so long on my own. I don't want some computer program or intelligence to tell me how to do it. I think I've pretty much got a handle on it. And that being said, remember a couple episodes back I talked about goals. Well, my goals have been achieved, and I'm not out to be the next big writer where I make a living off my writing. I make a very good living off what I do in my real job, in my major job, and this for me is a hobby, and I enjoy it. I also, and a lot of people don't know this, that I do suffer from depression from time to time, and I don't want to take medicine for the depression. So I write to help me with that depression, and it works. So even if I didn't sell a book, I would still write things. So online platforms aside, and you're always going to have to use social media. I hate social media, but I use it to promote myself so people will find my work. And that's what you need to also. I also use Facebook, and I use a monthly newsletter and these videos that I make, plus videos for short videos for TikTok and here on YouTube. But I also advertise myself that I'm going to be making appearances, and to let people know who want to come and pick up books from me can meet me at certain appearances throughout the year. I don't do a lot, probably somewhere between 8 and 12 shows a year. I think this year is not as many as in the past. But I have repeat customers coming to me to those shows, and they follow me on social media. They subscribe to my newsletter. I use MailChimp. It's very easy to use. You can write out your newsletter, get it all fleshed out in Microsoft Word, and then transfer it over to MailChimp and send it out to your subscribers. So have a way on your table when you're setting up at shows, if you choose to do this, and so people can sign up for your newsletter. And you can offer incentives. You can say, I'll give you 10% off if you sign up for my newsletter. And most of the time they will. And for the most part, it works for me. And I try to put out a newsletter once a month. There's also Patreon. You can do exclusive short stories, or you can put on chapters of a book you're writing that are unedited, or you can do special videos just for Patreon. And that draws people to you, and they can pay you a monthly fee of whatever you set. Mine set at like a $5 tier and a $10 tier. I know promoting can be daunting, and talking about it all of the time and saturating your Facebook feed or your social media feed in general with advertising every day. But like I said in the last episode, it's like driving past a billboard. If a person drives past a billboard every day and doesn't see it, there's going to be that one day they're going to see it. And sometimes social media platforms have a way of, when you post something, they don't let everybody see it. So saturating your feed at least once a day with, say, here I am, this is what I write, this is what I do, check me out. Or even if they just like it and share it, or tell someone about it, or repost it. I have people who repost my stuff, and I really, really appreciate that. That really means a lot to me. So remember, figure out which genre you want to write in. And I'm sure if you've finished your book or you're getting ready to start it, you already know what genre you're going to write in. But see if there are subgenres that your book could also fit into. Use social media as much as you can. I'm not telling you you cannot use Facebook to market your stories, or even YouTube. You can use YouTube to market, or Amazon. I'm not telling you you can't use any of those. You can throw as much money as you want at them. I'm just telling you it didn't work for me, but it could work for you. I have a tendency to have a lot of bad luck. So, what might not work for me might work for you. And I suggest if you at least want to try it once or twice and see how it works out for you and see what happens, I would stay away from the AI. That's just my opinion. I think there's a lot of witch hunt going out for AI right now, and we'll talk about that in a later video. But I think as far as you can stay away from it, the better, okay? And also, use a lot of hashtags when you do promote on social media. Blue Sky is getting very popular. It's kind of the new Twitter now, and since I don't use X platform anymore, I do use Blue Sky a lot to market my books, and it has helped. So just keep throwing yourself out there in social media, make videos. do as much as you can to get your face out there, not just your books, but who you are. You go kayaking like I did today, post on social media, hey, I went kayaking. Let people know who you are. I post a lot of food because I'm a chef, so I post a lot of food that I cook on my social media accounts, mostly on Facebook. And I don't know if that helps, but it lets people know that I'm not just a writer. I'm also a human being, and hey, this is who I am. I want you to like me. So just think about that when you're promoting yourself. We have a comment from last episode that kind of relates to this episode, and that comment comes from Ryan Permisson, and he says, Charles, I'm enjoying your videos and I have learned a lot from them, so thank you. Question: when a writer starts tabling at events, how does one make their booth stand out? That is a really good question. And doing shows is very important. Just if you can't go far away, I usually go 5 hours away from my home. It's about as far as I usually go to do a show. I've never gone any farther than 5 hours, although I have thought about it. But if you can't go that far, if there's something local that you can do, a library event, or if there's a local PopCon that you can do, or a writer's retreat or something like that, there's always something going on in areas if you just look deep enough into where you live and find something. And a lot of things like libraries and are cheap, or not really cheap, they're free. Libraries is a free resource, and this is why libraries are very, very important to not just writers, but to readers and to communities. And so reach out to your local library. That's very important. I have done stuff at my local library a few times, and it's always been a success. But tabling at an event, how do you get people to see you? Well, first of all, you want to start with a colorful banner, and my banner is right here. And of course, this was made by Jeffrey Hayes. I wanted a banner that had me on it with everything that I had written. And the banner actually worked out. I had some characters on the banner, Night Vision and Purple Mystique, that I never really wrote stories for except in the pulp reality. And I had people ask about those characters and wanted to know and see more of them. And that's why my Stormgate Press quick read series was born, was because I wanted to do something with those characters. And I just bumped the camera. So a colorful banner is very important. Also very important, if you're able to. I know some people are not, and I have problems with it, but stand up during peak times of a show. I know it's not possible to stand up all the time at a show, but when you have a lot of traffic coming by your table, stand up, engage with them. Even if they don't come to your table, just say, hey, how's it going? I usually just say, hey, enjoying the show. I am not the kind of person that grabs my book and say, how many of my books are you going to buy? Which I have seen people do in the past. I'm pretty straightforward when people come to my table. If they walk up and they seem interested in my covers, which is another thing that draws people to your tables, is covers that people can see and understand what's happening just by looking at them. But when they come up to my table, I'm usually just like, hey, how's it going? If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And I usually don't say much more than that. I don't want to push my stuff onto them. I've sat next to many of other writers who go through their spiel over and over and over again, and eventually I can do it. I just try to keep it simple, because if they're very interested, then I will give them, the spiel. If they pick up an Evolution Man, I'll tell them it's my love letter to the $6 Million Man. And a lot of older people who know who the $6 Million Man is, who like that TV show, or maybe read the original book it was based on, Cyborg, they'll usually buy this. Younger people, I kind of go into a little bit more detail of what the book's about, because they don't know what the $6 Million Man is. But I don't try to push myself. So colorful banner, stand up as much as you can, engage with your customers. If they walk by your table and you're busy sitting down on your phone, they may not stop. But if you say hi with a smile, they may turn towards you and walk up to your table. Are they going to buy your book? No, I knew a guy, Dave Beam, a great guy, great writer, wrote the Edger series. And he was great at marketing his book at shows. He would take his book and he would tell them about it. And then he would show his characters on the back. If he had characters on the back of his book, he would do it. And then he would turn the book down like this and he would pass it over, right? And then the person would take the book in their hand. And by gosh, they would usually buy the book. And I was just amazed by that. I am not that kind of seller. I just can't do it. Like I said, usually for me, it's just, hey, how's it going? If you see anything, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm right here. A lot of writers will put bowls of candy on their table. I am opposed to this, mostly because of the liability thing. As a chef, I have learned this through countless times of setting up an events for food. And if you give away food to someone, hardtack candy or something off your table for free, and they put it in their mouth and get choked on it, you're liable. They will sue you. It is possible. I have seen it done. So I am opposed to putting bowls of candy on my table to entice them over. Although I do put things on my table like stickers of my characters. I put bookmarks, of course, and I do business cards. I have done keychains. I have done little things. Now, a lot of fantasy writers, a lot of romance writers will go above and beyond and do a lot of extra stuff on their table that relates to their book. If there's a diamond or something or a piece of jewelry in their book, they may actually make those to represent what's in the book and maybe give them away with the book or sell them. I've seen with fantasy books, I've seen people give away little miniature broadswords. So there's all kinds of things you can do. I would not recommend you put a bowl of candy on your table. That's just me. Again, these are things that I think works for me, and hopefully they'll work for you. And Ryan, I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, feel free to contact me or leave a message on this video, and we'll go more in depth with it in the next episode. All right. So there's so many things you can do, so many ways you can promote. I've put flyers. Well, I work at a university. I put flyers up on the university. So if you have a community college or a university near you, you might want to think about putting up some kind of flyer or in your local library. Donate books to your local library if they haven't bought them. Sign them, and that way they can put them out for their patrons to borrow, and that will lead to them wanting to read more of your stuff and maybe seek you out by reading your books. I wish I could tell you the secret to marketing, but honestly, I don't think any writer can. Even the big writers today for the big 5 publishers, back in the day when you signed a book deal with one of the big publishers, they would send you out on a book tour. They would give you the books to go out and do your signing. That's just not a thing anymore. A lot of writers, Kevin J. Anderson comes to mind, and Brian Herbert, who writes with him, they do a lot of shows out of their own pocket. So that's why you don't see them do, now here I am bumping the camera again. If you don't see them come to certain parts of the country because they're out west, and it takes a lot of money for them to travel like towards the east. So primarily you've got to figure out a way to get your books in people's hands. Because even one of the big publishers, you're still going to have to do it. You're still going to have to market yourself. Unless you are a Jim Butcher or a Stephen King that make a lot of money and have been doing it for a lot of years, you are going to have to figure out a way to get yourself out there. And it's difficult. I'm still learning new things. So if you've got a way that you think that I don't know about, that I've never tried, leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. All right. I've heard of writers that keep copies of their books, especially their latest books, with them when they're out traveling around, going to the supermarket, stopping by the bank. But they have copies of their books with them. And just in case, if you start up a conversation that, hey, I write for a living, or I've written this book, and they'll say, well, how can I get a copy? And you'll say, well, I have a copy in my car if you'd like to buy a copy now. I don't do that because I don't throw myself into that kind of conversation usually when I'm out and about. And usually, how do I start that conversation? But then when I do get in that conversation, God, why didn't I have some books with me? I know Bobby Nash does that, and it works well for him, I think. So that's another thing you can do. Keep some books with you, your latest book with you when you are out and about in public, and maybe you'll make a sale, or at least you can show somebody your book for a future sale. I also I have a website, stormgatepress.com, which is right here. And on that website is the Stormgate store, and you can order books directly from me. And I usually send some things to people. And that's, I encourage you to start a website. And if you can, if you're able to, start a store to sell your book from your website. I only ship books within the continental United States because it's so expensive to send outside of the continental United States. So, and I know a lot of people would like to order books from me that live in overseas, but it's just not feasible. It's not fair to them to pay the kind of shipping. I think it's like even over just to Canada, it costs like $25 to send a book, one book. And that's just not fair to them. And I don't want to charge people that kind of money, so they can buy it from the Amazon store in their country. But on your website, even that is a good marketing tool. Let people know what's going on in your area, what's going on with your books, where you're going to appear, that kind of thing. So if you want to check out my website, maybe get some inspiration. I am not a website builder. I never have been. I kind of just muddle through it, and I think it turns and looks out pretty good, so I leave it. All right. So guys, I think that's going to about wrap it up for this week. I'm sure there's some things that I didn't tell you that I wish I would have. And I'm sure after I stop making this video, I'm going to go, God, why didn't I say that? And if that happens, I'll talk about it in the next episode next week. So I hope I've given you some insight, and I hope that it works for you. And if you know of something that works for you that I have not talked about, can you leave it down in the comments and share it with everybody? That would be great, because I could probably use it. So guys, I'm going to get out of here now. I'm losing my voice evidently, but before we go, I want to leave you with this moment of inspiration.
I often tell new writers, if you need security, this is not the profession for you. Writing is a series of rolling the dice. And, you know, I look at my own career and a great start, but then I hit an iceberg and my ship sank. And I was taking courses in how to sell real estate for no money down because I thought I was about to lose my house. But then I persisted, and I had some good luck to pick up for the bad luck. And, you know, then a few years down the line, I hit another iceberg, and that ship sunk too. But I kept going, and here I am today. I think I'm typical of most writers. You know, if I get 100 good reviews, I'm very pleased, but it's the one bad review that really sticks in the craw and pisses you off. And that's the one you can't forget. You know, I got 100 good ones, but oh, how dare you say that? He's so wrong.